This short video is about finishing App01 and starting App02, so don't come here until you've got a working version of App01. Okay, so we need to test App01, and we need to consider valid data and, if possible, invalid data. So you've got 6 features to test. I'm suggesting you need 2 tests for each feature, because it is possible that if you use 1.0 miles that you'll get the result 5 to 80 even if the calculation wasn't correct. So I'm suggesting 2 tests. So if you do 2.0 miles you should get twice the result. So 2 tests per feature, that's 12 tests in total. Invalid tests. Because we're using numbers, if you enter 1.0m by mistake, you should expect to get an error message. And the question is, do you actually get an error message? These are typical black box tests. This is the traditional way of testing. It is rather labour intensive. It's not necessarily the best way of testing, but we're starting with this. So when you do these tests, you're going to fill the actual result in, which hopefully will be the same as the expected result. If it is, you can just say OK or it worked. But sometimes you will get the unexpected, and this is one of the cases where when you run this test you won't get the error message you're expecting, and you need to record what actually happened. So for example, if they selecting a unit and they're asked to choose units 1 to 3 and they put a silly number in like 55, you're expecting an error message. Do you get an error message? And if you don't put a number in at all for the unit number, again, are you going to get an error message or not? So these are the tests for where the user can go wrong and put in values which are not valid. Okay, now these tests, I've set these tests up for you in the wiki. You can take a copy of that page. There is a video showing you how to take a copy of that page, and then you can edit it. So you can see the way MarkDown works. It has one row with the column headings in, separated by vertical lines. Here, where you've got dashes, that indicates it's not aligned. It'll be left aligned. If you put a colon, a dash colon, it'll be centered. And if you want it right aligned, you can put a colon at the end of the line. And then you put the values themselves separated by vertical lines. So there isn't a value 4. I don't know why I've got 4 here. There are 3 possible units to choose from. So the from unit should be, say, 3. The value, the distance value might be 1.0, and the 2 unit might be 1. So you're expecting the 2 value to be 5 to 80. Was it actually 5 to 80? And if it was, that was okay. So I'll show you that in MarkDown now. So here is the App01 user requirements page, and these are the 3 stages you've worked through, so you don't need to alter that. First thing you need to alter is the class diagram. You need to put the class diagram in there, and there's a separate video for that. All we're talking about is you taking screenshots and completing these black box tests. So you go to the top and you'll edit the page. You'll scroll down until you see here. So here's the first test. So if the actual result was 5 to 80, you'll put the actual result in there and you'll say that's okay. And you can then, I'll preview it so you can see it. it comes out like that. So these are the tests I want you to complete. For the valid data, there's 12 of them, and then 3 tests for invalid data. Don't have to use the same invalid values here. And then you need to complete your evaluation here. 5 improvements, extensions or limitations of the completed application. And that will then complete your documentation page, for which there are marks. There's marks for the class diagram, marks for the screenshot. Sorry, I haven't indicated that yet. There are marks for the screenshot. Now, screenshots. Okay, so I've run the program. I've chosen miles to feet. I put in 1 mile and I've got 5 to 80 feet. I've brought up the snipping tool, and with the snipping tool you can do what's called a rectangular snip, and I just want to see that bit. That's all I need to see. So you select that in the snipping tool and then save it. And you need to find your repository. So mine's on drive D in Bucks repos, and I've got an images folder here. So I'm going to call this App01 test.jpg. So I'm saving it in there. Now, having saved it in there, you should notice there it's picked up by my Git changes, and so I can just now enter a message and say I've added a screenshot, and I'm now going to commit that and push. Okay, I'm getting this error message because I've been using GitHub desktop, and all I'm doing is, if it does that, just go there again and commit stage and pushed. I don't know why it's coming up. It shouldn't be coming up, but it is. But you can just repeat the push and it's pushed. So it's now in GitHub. So if I go to GitHub and I go images, there should be a App01 test there. There's the image. Okay, so you're going to copy that and then go to your wiki and your App01 page that you've taken a copy of. You're going to edit this, and you're going to go down to the screenshot area, and looks like I've already got one there, but I'll paste this other one in just to show you. So I'm pasting in the URL there for this screenshot, saving the page, and we should now see the new screenshots there. I think one screenshot should be sufficient, because it shows me your choice of units, it shows me that it's working. It doesn't show me the error messages if you put in invalid data, but I can see that from the code, so I'll only ask for a single screenshot. There will be marks lost if it doesn't have a heading, doesn't have your name in, and doesn't have clear feedback to the user. This slide demonstrates an alternative in C# to the if statement. You can use the switch statement, where your choice in this case was a string 1, 2 or 3. You can then set the unit, and you can also have an invalid choice there. Okay, we still do have a problem with invalid data, that if they do put a number 5 in, or here they haven't entered valid values 1 to 3, they will get a silly error message and no chance to recover from that. They're not asked again, the whole thing just ends. But we can't cure that without the use of repetition. which will be introduced in App03. So you don't need to worry about that in apps 1 and 2. What you might like to do though is use enumerations. I won't go through the code for you, and there are some extra marks for it. You can introduce this enumeration. I think that enumeration might be there. Let me just check. Yes, as you can see, I've added the enumeration for you, and it's called distance units, so it's already there. You can use that. So you use that by changing the from unit, which was a string, into distance unit or distance units. Sorry, there is controversy over whether it should be singular or plural. I'll allow you either. I think I'm favouring the plural now. So you'd have a to unit, which is a distance unit, a from unit is a distance unit, and then you can access them like this when you write out the choices. It is better because you're unlikely to make more. If you use strings, quite often you can make mistakes with strings, whereas if you've got a list of defined values, you can't go wrong. It's far more difficult to go wrong. So here we are using the choice they've made, which should be 1, 2 and 3. Don't know why it's 4, sorry. And then choosing the unit in a similar way. Now here's a suitable error message. I haven't shown you that in the video, but there are marks for having error messages where you can check that the user has made an error. Okay, so what we're expecting then is that you have completed App01 with all 6 distance conversions tested and fully evaluated. You can then start on App02. And I'll go through App02 in a minute. What you can also do as soon as you have a second app is you need to alter the program class so that the user can select which of the 2 apps they want to run. So there's marks for that as well. But you can leave that until you have finished App01. So App01 should use feet, meters and miles and any possible combinations of those. App02 is BMI, the body mass index. I want you to calculate a body mass index either using imperial measurements such as pounds and inches, or metric units such as kilograms and meters. So here's the World Health Organization's classification based on body mass index. I want you to cover all 6 of these possibilities in your output message, and I also want you to output a special message for people in Black, Asian and other minority ethnic groups because they are at increased risk, so that message needs to go out as well. I've given you this chart for testing purposes, so it's both in inches and centimeters, pounds and kilograms, you'll notice. So you can use this chart for testing purposes. Okay, so to finish off, this calculator must allow the user to select either to enter the height and weight in metric units or imperial units. The program will calculate their BMI index from both, and it will display appropriate health messages based on their BMI index, and there will be a separate message, health message, for Black, Asian and other ethnic minority groups. I think that's it. Here is your design. You can copy this. I think it's probably already in the wiki page, which shows you, it's an activity diagram showing you the user first selects the units, then they enter their details, height and weight, then calculates their index and outputs a message. So there's your software design. And that's it. There are some references here, but they're in the wiki page. I think I will add references to C# documentation pages as well. I haven't done that yet, but that'll be in the wiki page.